Well, optimism is building up in the construction industry. Faced with a 1-2 punch from higher materials costs and a persistent manpower crunch, the sector has struggled to meet both demand and deadlines. But construction companies are catching up. Rebecca Mateo with this report.
Metal prices are easing from record highs. That's the good news for the construction sector. The bad news, they're still very high.
Good example is steel that we use a lot in our construction projects. We used to be under $800 per tons. At one time, it gone up to $1,200 to $1,300 per ton. That was a few months ago only. Today, it dropped down to $900 a ton. Aluminum prices has gone up as high as 70%, now dropped back to 30%.
Metal prices skyrocketed on the war in Ukraine, from where much of the world's metal supplies are sourced. Developments around China, another major source country for metals, have also worsened the supply crunch and fed price speculation.
So you can imagine how the disruption, supply chain disruption, the war factor, the tension of US and China, all control measure of COVID-19 in China are still reluctant to open up. Things like that is make the whole supply chain very, very difficult to manage, and the prices are very volatile.
Compounding the construction challenges is the labour shortage. CHH Construction says their biggest problem is the attrition rate of their workers. Around 1 in 3 returned home after borders reopened.
During the pandemic, especially during the circuit breaker, a lot of the workers have grown a bit tired of the restrictions that were placed on them, no matter how necessary they were at that time. That's human nature. So a lot of them grew emotionally tired. So they went back either to rest for a long period of time, say 5 years, or permanently.
Replacing skilled workers means having to train younger newcomers, requiring time and resources. Straits Construction says it is affecting their productivity.
Of course, with the lack of a lower skill level of workers that are in the system now, the productivity level has actually dropped. So it's something that we need to digest. And of course, I think, in my opinion, perhaps maybe we need another year before we see some stability in the whole market.
Construction companies say the labour shortage and volatile market conditions have delayed some of their projects by 9 months to a year. But it appears that companies are starting to make up for lost time. United Tech Construction, for one, is leveraging technology to improve productivity and save labour costs. It's building units in a factory and transferring them on site. This year has been a year of catching up for the construction industry in Singapore. Authorities have reported that construction output has recovered close to pre-pandemic levels. This means that construction activities are progressing at a steady pace. It could still take at least another year for the construction industry to recover fully, but the outlook is optimistic.
The outlook for the construction sector in the coming years is pretty good, because especially on the demand side, right, there has been rising demand for the construction sector. So basically, there is increasing demand for both residential properties and commercial properties in Singapore.
But whether supply can meet this demand remains contingent on how quickly the wider industry can overcome the labour and material shortages and navigate around factors beyond their control, like geopolitical tensions, energy prices, and supply chain disruptions.